Hi, we meet again and the fresh set of five good night questions. And the questions which I have picked up for you, they are from around the economic affairs which is happening in our country. It's post budget and the issues which have been raised, economic survey, the issues which have been raised. And here I'm trying to check your conceptual clarity. And in conceptual clarity, I basically would imagine that are you able to connect a particular fact with its applied version of it? Because in PT, I've seen lots of questions coming. Some of you are going to get indication that I have learned this thing in silos, like I've learned inflation in silos, I've learned monetary policy in silos, I've learned this whatever MPC in silos. But then if it comes into applied part, uh, am I able to really answer this question or not? That's going to be checked. And then some of you would get lots of insights and the direction to work towards because you find such questions on a regular basis being asked. Here is the first question that I have got for you on your screen now. Um, in the context of the government of India's recent focus on significantly increasing capital expenditure, capex, which statement is the most accurate economic rationale, which is why they are doing it? The fiscal multiplier of capex is lower than that of the revenue expenditure, which is why it is prioritized for debt sustainability. All right. Second, high capex is justified only if it is entirely financed through disinvestment, ensuring zero increase in the primary deficit. Third, capex has a larger long-term fiscal multiplier because it crowds in private investment and enhances the economy's productive capacity. This looks correct. A sustained capex push will immediately increase the current account deficit by boosting imports, thus negating its growth benefit. If you have conceptual clarity about this economic questions, these options look very, very simple. I think, of course, C has been identified as a correct thing. And then I think the fiscal multiplier of capex is lower than that of the revenue expenditure. And I think that's something which uh, is something which is where we have a big question now. It's higher than that of the most revenue expenditure, like consumption subsidies, etc. So this is not correct. B is also incorrect because financed by various sources, including borrowing, etc., capex. So that again is not correct. D, of course, is incorrect. And then this is ultimately beneficial for CAD and growth. So what they're talking about is that uh, negating its growth benefit is an opposite angle. So if you have a conceptual clarity, I think there should not be any doubt in picking up C as the right answer. Second question that I have got here: the Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) uses the inflation targeting framework (ITF) based on CPI combined. In the context of recurring food supply shocks in India, which action is consistent with the optimal policy response? A. Immediate aggressive interest rate hike to anchor generalized inflation expectations. Now, shifting the primary inflation target from CPI combined to the CPI to ignore food prices volatility. Opposite. Third, using only fiscal and administrative measures to address the food supply shortage while monitoring the second round effect. D. Conducting open market operations to inject liquidity as food price inflation is inherently demand driven. No. I suppose C is again right that we have got, and then I suppose the second one, option A, is a wrong option that we have got, because what they say is that aggressive rate hikes and supposedly non-food demands, and I mean I think it's pressure on the non-food item also increases, so that's something which is definitely not acceptable. Then second wala, shifting the primary inflation target from CPI combined to the core CPI, ये हो नहीं सकता है. I mean, that's not possible. I suppose consumption baskets and goods में वो उनका काफी stake होता है. And डी तो बिल्कुल ही उल्टा लिख दिया है इन्होंने. I mean, that's something which is they have written that as food prices inflation inherently demand driven. No, I mean, जितना consumption करना है food का उतना आप करते हैं. And I think that's very, very, very opposite that we have got. In fact, C is the correct answer here. I like to keep these videos short, so that's why I don't go too much of into explanation. But please learn why a particular thing, particular aspect is not clear. A lot of you require to read it deeper. Question number 3. The economic survey emphasizes the role of digital public infrastructure (DPI). Like UPI and Aadhaar is driving inclusive growth, as we all know that. How does DPI primarily reduces the informality premium for MSEMEs? Informality premium in MSEMEs. I'll just explain this. A. By replacing government cash subsidy with direct formal bank transfers. No, that hasn't happened here. And B. By directly penalizing informal business that failed to register for GST. Nobody would come if you are doing like that. Nobody will use this DPI. C. By eliminating transaction fees for formal sector payment. Eliminating. No, it doesn't become zero, it reduces. D. By providing low-cost verifiable digital transaction history which facilitates across the formal credit. I think that's where they would be having more chances of getting more formal credit because they are more on the books. I think that's this is a good idea. I mean, I think the word that they have got here is uh, informality premium. Informality premium is like the informal होने की जो समस्या है, the problems and the difficulties they have because of being informal is what we can possibly call as informality. And I think इसको दूर करने के लिए they want to go into formal, and for getting into the formal they have to have respectability so that they can get some formal borrowing. I think D is the right answer in this. C would have been close if D was the wrong one, because it is not bringing it to zero, but it doesn't eliminate, it brings it lower. That's what we can possibly say. The fourth question. A major theme in Indian economy is managing the external sector amid global volatility. बहुत ही topical question है अभी का. Which combination of factors would put the maximum immediate depreciation pressure on the Indian rupees? Interesting. I like to read this again. A major theme in the Indian economy is managing the external sector amid global volatility. Which combination of factors would put the maximum immediate depreciation pressure on the Indian rupee? A. High GDP growth and a simultaneous spike in the forex reserve. No. Ulta कह रहे हैं. Reduction in global crude oil prices and a surge foreign direct investment. I think they're all giving very bad options. ये भी गलत है. Sharp increase in the US interest rates and a major global risk of sentiment. हाँ, पैसे जाएंगे वहाँ. हो सकता है ये. D. Government reducing its fiscal deficit target by an increase in the Indian IT service export. No. I think I would like to go for C as the right answer in this, and these choices are very much self-explanatory. The next one we have got, the union budget uses non-debt creating capital receipts, NDCCR. I think that's very simple. As a key financing component. Which one of the following is not a component of NDCCR? Very easy question. This investment proceeds from public sector undertaking. ये तो है ना? Which is not. Recovery of loan granted by the central government of states. पैसे आ रहे हैं तो debt create नहीं हो रहा. C. Receipts from the sale of spectrum assets. यहाँ से भी नहीं होगा. D. Proceeds from market borrowing via issuing government securities. I think यहाँ से definitely create होगा. Which of the following is not a component of NDCCR? I think D is the right answer. What bad choices हैं? The choices are easy. But then if you do not know the concept of NDCCR, I suppose you have got difficulty. So you have to, in this set of questions, I've tried to ignite you that need for going into understanding the relationship and impact part of it. The word of the day, word of the night is tenacious. Tenacity is the word that we have got. Uh, Determination, we say, and then unwillingness to give up. I mean, I think tenacity is in Hindi में बोलते हैं दृढ़ता. I mean, I read this word with respect to the tenacity of the Indian export sector at the time of the tariff rise by the Americans on India. So I suppose that is where we have got capacity to withstand the pressure, resilience, can we say that? And that is a beautiful word. You can see tenacious, tenacity of a person, tenacious person, tenacity of a sector, tenacity of economy, resilience, as you can possibly imagine. It's a beautiful word. You can use it as part of your writing and speaking. Good night.